Hi everybody. I'm CEO of Open Factory, which is a Finnish company which design platforms. Yes, it's a platform for issuing and creating badges, and Open Passport, which is a platform where badge earner can receive the badges. So. What I will tell you tomorrow, today, it's about the development that we are doing now, mainly in Open Passport. So we are very interested not only in providing tools for users for creating issuing badges, but we think that badges are connectors, not credential, but I would say more connectors. So that badges are basically about communication, and they have a big social, let's say, dimension where they get the value. So all the story of Open Passport has been from the very beginning that issuing badges is not enough. Badge earners should have the possibility not only to receive badges like in a backpack, but really to grow the value of the badges in an environment which is basically, let's say, unlock the potential of open badges as connectors. So it's a personal learning environment, I would say, but it's also a social environment. And personally, I also think very strongly that we definitely need to put badges in action. And I don't speak only about the badge earners. Most of them just get badges, but they don't really know how to use them. And so we have still the problem that in many strategies, badges are like flyers in a way, and the badge earner is a bit passive. I will try today to show you how putting badge in action can also be something that organization can do in a community context. Okay, so I think that perhaps the best approach is to tell you a bit about the development of Open Badge Passport. So the first stage of our development, it was already in 2013, I think, or 14, was to provide a place where you can, as a badge earner, receive your badges and enrich your badges. So the idea that in Open Badge Passport, when you get a badge, you can share it if you want, but you can also add evidence on your badges. So badges are like micro portfolios. And at the same time, you can, of course, share your badge with the community and see what badges have been earned by the community. And seeing a badge, meaning that you can see who has got this badge, you can see also the community of practice, which is around the badge. So here you see in the middle, this small icon show that the guideline of this development is that the learner is always at the center. So there is a interaction between community and the personal environment and the learner. At the second stage, I would say stage number 2, our development has focused very much on the open recognition and the idea that in your passport you not only receive badges, but you can also create your own badges. So what we call self-claim badges, or in English, I call them also selfie badges, a bit like as a provocation. But the idea is that a badge is not always created by an organization, and the value of the badge can be created, generated by a recognition also by the community. So endorsement here is a very important word, and in Open Badge Passport we have design tools for getting badges that are received endorsed by peers, member of the community. I can even create a badge and and be recognized by a peer. Okay, so this is a bit, I would say, the seven level or layer in this development. The third one, it's what's something which has been done now a bit, let's say 1 year ago, not even 1 year ago, so that we understood that in fact the passport as a community space was excluding organizations. So we developed for organization the possibility to have its own space inside the community, and that is the name of this new services space. And then here we can combine the personal learning environment, the community environment, and then the organization that can basically work inside the passport. And the idea, the space that the organization have administration tools, but in the space they can use badges for scaffolding learning. So the idea that you can connect your Open Badge Factory account, where you have your badges created by your badge team, to your space, and inside your space you can assign or suggest badges to your learners, build graphic or visual pathways that we call mini-maps. And the idea that here that we basically, if you compare a traditional badge issuing platform, you are issuing badges to a bunch of individuals. Here you can build all your badge strategy based on your space, on your group that you have inside the community. But at the center of the development, still you have the learner here. Learners can benefit of all what there is in the community, and they can join different kind of spaces. So a learner can be in one or several spaces. So what is a space in a nutshell? It's a dedicated passport inside the generic passport, where we have 150,000 users and something like 400,000 badges. The idea here is to have a richer interaction between the members of a community in, I would say, in a meaningful context, and to give tools for managing this interaction. As I said, what is very interesting here that we basically introduce a new role in the community, which is the let's say organization role. And the main idea here that you can be in a community and you can develop inside your community with your learners some scaffolding strategies. So I will show you a bit how it works. So in Open Badge Passport, when you have a space, you have your own branded start page, which is very important. That the question of identity is very important for many organizations. So they need to have their own URL for accessing the passport. When you are as a learner inside the passport, if you are in a space, you get your dedicated, your own dedicated dashboard, and here you can see the information only about your space. So you don't see the 150,000 users that there is in the system. First of all, you get information about your community, about your space, and this is making the interaction between users stronger, because there is no, I would say, noise around it. But still, you can jump at the higher level and see all what happened in the passport. Putting badge in action, I was speaking about this concept about the learner himself, the badge earner. But basically here, what is interesting is that you can say you can have the same approach for an organization. So here you can see from here that you can have in your space different membership levels. So it can be an open space, everyone can join, a control space, then there is the administrator, the space will accept or reject the member, or a private space. And what is interesting here is that you can connect your OBF account and define what badges you want to use inside the space. These badges will be used in the space. And you have in the space also roles. So administrator, creator can create mini-maps, so pathways, and the issuer can issue badges. And here it's very interesting as use cases that you can have a badge team designing badges in Open Badge Factory side, and you can have a space for a school, and the teachers of the schools will be able to issue the badges to their own students inside the space, in their content. So they don't need to have access to Open Badge Factory. So it's what I call a distributed way to put badges in action. So the badge will be, as use case, you will give a license badge to the issuer of the passport. Just next one. And then we have developed a tool that we call mini-maps. Mini-maps are basically like metro maps. So it's a tool where you can set up stations, and under the station you can add badges, one or several badges for a station. You can also define the time that you need for completing a station, and then when you have been creating this kind of minimap, you can assign or suggest this minimap to some of your users inside your space, or you can publish it to all your members in the space, or publish it in all Open Badge Passport. What is very interesting in this pathways that you can build what we call hybrid pathway, because you can use your own badges that you have in your OBF account, but you can use also any badge or badge application that are already in the community. So, for example, in France, in some professional development project, you have badges from several organizations gathered in a common minimap, which is a common pathway. And then you have the tracking feature that here you can see when you suggest a minimap to your learners, you can see then where they are in the minimap, what is the completion level of this minimap. So what is very interesting that we had already in Open Badge Passport functionality what we call objectives, but now the spaces are given a stronger, I would say, sense or value of objective, because your personal objectives can be basically connected to objective success by the space administrators. So when you as a badge or as a minimap creator, when you assign a badge or suggest a badge, it will come to the badge earner or to users' objectives. It will be suggest, and then you can accept as a learner. You can always accept or reject it. You can also set up your own objectives, so you could pick badges which have been created in different spaces. And as you see here, you can also track and manage your own objectives. So it is very important to show that, because even you have spaces in the community, in the passport, spaces are managed by organizations. The learner, the badge earner can always decide if he wants or not to accept this suggestion or these assignments. So next step about the development of the space is that we are pushing on assessments, meaning that in the future we will be able to bring the let's say the typology of the university, of the organization, and to bring it inside the space, meaning that if there is a badge application which is proposed to Eric and the boss of Eric is Don, for example, Don will automatically receive my badge application, and we will be able to assess it. So the other important thing is badging. So it will be possible to have this distributed badging strategy inside the spaces, and now we are developing some kind of tracking system to be able to showcase, to visualize, to make visible if there is a gap between the objectives of this space and what has been basically completed. And we are pushing also on communication. And the idea that in this generic open badge passport, where you have, as I say, great number of users and great number of badges, you can also, using these spaces, connect with an API to different kind of systems. So it will be a future development, but for example, job opportunities, training, coaching could be for different countries connected to the spaces. And we are also planning some development with machine learning tools. And here the idea would be that the learner who has an account in Open Badge Passport could basically get some algorithm, some view of what he could or she could do in the passport. So suggestions could come not only from spaces, from let's say people, but also from the fact that if I have a badge which is, for example, already used in some pathways, the system could say, okay, these pathways could be interesting for you. It's a first stage, but of course, as you see here, there would be the possibility also to have algorithm based on the relation between the badges, but also on the relation between people. So there is an endorsement, as I say, in the passport. So you could have suggestions about badges which has been earned by people who have been endorsing you or are working closely with you. So that's why my presentation about this new I would say layer or new dimension of Open Badge Passport. If you are interested to visit and to try the minimaps, you can use this QR code and you will have access to a sandbox space to play with it. But what is very interesting, in my opinion, here that, as I said, it's very important that badges are not only issued and received and lost, in the big universe of internet. That you have definitely a space or a place where you can grow the value of the badges, be recognized by the community, that there is some activity. But what is interesting that now I think that we have success to connect three levels: the personal learning environment, learner-centric approach, the community level approach, and now the scaffolding, and I would say the space which is managed by an organization that can, or which can implement its own badging strategy or its own learning strategy. Do you have any questions? Yes, so I was speaking about Open Badge Passport because Open Badge Passport is a generic open service that we provide to everyone, but we have also several installations of Open Badge Passport that we call dedicated passport. And we have the IDB passport, for example, we have HPass passport and so on. And in these passports, there is also this space functionality. So the idea is to have the same, let's say, structure, not only in Open Badge Passport, but in dedicated passport. So a dedicated passport, it's the difference compared with Open Badge Passport that the managing organization can basically manage the whole community. So there is a community, let's say the IDB community, and inside IDB community, you can have different kind of partners having their own, let's say, spaces and own areas inside this community, dedicated community passport.
Can I follow up my question?
Yes, of course.
So what happens is this is the concept is very interesting, but I feel with the people that I talk to, when I mention this, the idea of space, like everyone is like, oh yes, I want my space. So I want you to tell me, what are the questions, that's maybe questions that I need to ask in order to make sure that I'm not creating a gazillion spaces for everyone that is asking for one because they think they're, you know that I have all these clients, right? So the people that do this thing, they're not interested in this other thing. And therefore, immediately they will say, oh, we need our own space. And I want to be sure that the space is used. I want to have control. Remember, I said I had no guardrails. I'm using my guardrails. I want to know. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I would say that don't be afraid of giving them a space because while it's not harming, they have their own space. They could have their own space. Try to deploy some strategy. It could take a long time, but it will not harm your passport because it will be inside the spaces, and still they will have the possibility to use all what there is in your
but it
passport.
could create an image. You see, here's my thing. A lot of these people are the same people that yesterday were talking about communities of practice. That's where they're coming from, right? And I always worry about that because frequently people talk about community of practice. They want like, oh, create this community. And they think it's a turnkey, that they create the community continues on its own. And I know that's not how it works. So to me, I understand what you're saying, but to me, there is a risk of creating these spaces where nothing happens. And that is a bad image for the passport.
I would say yes and no. So I would say yes if we would be in a context where all should be done by organization. You know what I mean? But it's still the passport is still a personal learning environment, basically. So mainly and first of all, the passport is a place where your learners, where your partners as badge earners will get, to receive the badges, share the badges, having interaction with the community. Okay, so if someone wants in a space to deploy, I would say, its own strategy in its own context, the idea is to have a well-defined context. I think that you could give them a try, but you could ask them, well, what is your strategy? What do you want to do in the space that you could not do inside
without it?
Inside the passport. But I think I've noticed in that some organizations have a big issue to understand that badging is not only delivering credentials. It's not that. So it's we try with the space basically to connect badges with the processes which are basically in action in education sector, in HR activities, that organization could have a way to understand what is happening with the badge. So there is a win-win situation. The badge earners can basically get suggestions about development. There can be scaffolding things. They can be supported, and at the same time, the organization can see what is happening basically with our badges. So, but of course, it takes time because many organizations have still, as I said, a very traditional way of credentialing, and so I issue badges as flyers, and everybody should be happy, but it's not the case. So, for example, what is very interesting in the space that you can, for example, suggest badges or badge application to people having some badges, and this is totally generic, so dynamic. Sorry. So you could also give to some people having some badges the right to be badge issuers. So badges are not only, I would say, the credential that you receive. Badges are licensed to badge also. And here the idea why the passport is interesting is because it's supporting open recognition by the fact that you can use it for developing recognizing community. And I think that the recognizing community is not only a community where people just get badges and are happy to say, okay, I've got this badge. It's a community where you can create your own badge and be recognized by some peer, but it's also a community that can create their own badges. So I know it's a bit challenging at the moment because there is a question of acculturation. So, but I think that there is a lot of potential to activate the community, and I think that until now it was not working because we had one missing link, and I was not seeing it, but now I understood that what was the missing link. Basically, the missing link was that organization where they had only tool for issuing badges and tracking and managing, and in the passport, the community, you had only your personal learning environment and the community. A community of what? A community which basically was a bench of 150,000 individuals. It doesn't make a community. It's not yet a community. Now the idea that you have, like in the real life, that you have practitioners, you have organizations providing services, developing strategies. So you have the third level, which is the organization level here.